I opened all the windows, and there was always, way in the back, there was some old lady wearing a sweater, and she was freezing, and she would run up and close the windows.
Okay, good Shabbos. Let's do dueling stories. I'll tell my story and Paul will finish his story. Okay. I'm speaking here about the Rishner. The Rishner was a Rebbe, a Hasidic Rebbe, who was the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov, that is the master of the good name. And so the Rishner was considered a very, very great Rebbe. The Rishner is also what we would call closest to being a rock star Rebbe. He wore golden slippers, he had a cloth of gold in his robes, he drove not a horse and wagon as most of the Rebbes did, the ones who could afford a horse and wagon. He had a coach and six, because you could never have too many horses. And as a result of this, the Rishner was he passed in 1789, so I find it amusing that while our forefathers were planning the United States of America, the Rishner was worrying about who was going to brush his horses. But he very often did it himself. He said it relaxed him. And he was learning. All right. But what happened was there was a young man, and the young man was at that age, let's say 19, when he's full of fervor and he absolutely had to be all the Jews in the world, meaning he had to be more religious than anybody else. So what he did was, in the morning in the snow, and in Poland, of course, they had two seasons, snow and mud, and he would go out and roll in the snow. He would take his shoes and he would pull out the nails and put them in so that every time he walked, they would prick him. And also he wore white because he had heard somewhere that white was a sign of purity. But alas, he did not get any closer to the Almighty. And so he decided to consult with the Rishner, because this is centuries before the Jews invented psychoanalysis, so they used the rabbi instead. Several people do this to this day. Okay. And you just have to learn to make sympathetic noises while they talk to you. How long have you felt this way? Okay. Anyway, so the Rishner, of course, is in the stable brushing out his favorite horse. What was the name of his favorite horse?
Silver.
Silver. Very good. Very good. He's brushing out Silver's mane, and the rest of him, I don't know how you brush a horse. And he's talking to it quietly, and he's kissing it, and it's wonderful, and the young man comes in, and he waits until there's an interruption between the Rebbe and the horse so he can get him his questions. And the Rebbe says, "Can I help you?" And the young man says, Rebbe, I am in great despair." He says, "Well, you're 19. That's not a bad place to be when you're 19. He says, "I am trying to make myself pure and get closer to God. I wear white all the time to represent that I am pure. I put nails in my shoes, and every morning I roll naked in the snow." And the Rebbe says, "You see, young man, that is your problem. You can see this horse is white. He also has nails in his shoes. And for amusement, frequently, my horses like to roll in the snow. So your problem is not as a human being reaching out to God. Your problem is, tell me, young man, what exactly is the difference between yourself and a horse?" So, anyway, that is the story of the Rishner. That's all I got. There? Yeah, I've been telling it for a while. I'm still working on that end.
We'll come up with men.
Yes, you should be glad, Peter, that I don't tell jokes like my mother. My mother, what's the funniest part of the joke?
Punchline.
So she would always tell that first.
Punchline.
Yes. All right. Okay, Shabbat Shalom, still working. That little beauty is from Nathan Ausubel, Ausubel, who wrote A Treasury of Jewish Folklore, which I discovered when I was very young. Volume 2 is A Treasury of Jewish Humor, and I'm here to tell you it should also be called All the Stuff That Didn't Make It into the First Book. The first book is much better. The second one, the jokes are not that funny. Maybe I just told them. Okay, 61. Modeh ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam. Modeh ani lefanecha, melech chai v'kayam. שחזרת בנשמתי בחמלה, שחזרת בנשמתי בחמלה, שחזרת בנשמתי בחמלה, רבה אמונתך. Is that a better
The
seat?
fans keep
Oh, I'm
blowing
sorry.
on me.
Actually, Lorraine, you're lucky. This is my good side.
Oh, good.
All right.
Okay.
That's all I got. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisroel. Seriously, when Barbara Streisand did Yentl the Yeshiva Boy, she told the director, only shoot this side. This is my masculine side. Yes.
Oh.
Yes, I don't know how it turned
Really?
out. Okay. Yes. All right.
She went to the New World, that's how it turned out.
There you go. On page 63, a favorite prayer at the top in the English. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe, fashioning the human body in wisdom, creating openings, arteries, glands, and organs, marvelous in structure, intricate in design. Should but one of them fail to function by being blocked or opened, it would be impossible to exist. Praise to you, Adonai, healer of all flesh, sustaining our bodies in wondrous ways. The Hebrew actually says, if one of them were open when it ought to be shut, or shut when it ought to be open, it would be impossible to exist before you. So, back in the day, that was the only prayer they had. Page 65, please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'sechli bina l'avtin ben yom uvein layla. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzalmo. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani Yisrael. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani ben chorin. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, okeach ivrim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, malbish arumim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, atir asurim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, zokev kefuvim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, rokaretz al hamayim. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asali kol sarki. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, amechin tzadek aver. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, osei Yisrael b'gvura. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, otei Yisrael b'tifara. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, anoten layoev koach. Please be seated. Baruch atah Adonai melech haolam, amavir shelamenoi, utnuma me'afapoi. And the last four lines. Utenenu ayom v'chayom l'cheinu l'chesed rachamim, v'yinecho v'yinei korim v'tzimlenu chasadim tovim. Baruch atah Adonai gomel chasadim tovim, li'amo Yisroel. And at the bottom of 66 we have the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod, Malchuto, Leolam Moed. All right, we'll continue now. The bottom of page 70. We'll sing the last three lines after my little brochette. The question was asked to me recently, why was God so hard on Moses? It seems as though God said to him, speak to the rock instead of touching it, and the rock will crack open miraculously, and there'll be a hidden stream underneath, and the water will come out of the rock, or the water will come out of the stream underneath. And Moses was having a terrible, terrible day. The Israelites were being more rebellious than usual, which is curious because this is not, after all, the generation that escaped from Egypt. They're all gone. This is the generation that was born in the wilderness, and they only knew Moses as a leader, so you'd think they'd be a little more respectful. Anyway, he loses his temper, and he says, "Hear now, you rebels, shall we bring you water out of this rock?" And he struck the rock not once but twice. And God said, "Moses, you blew it. You're not going to qualify to go into the promised land. You are going to die here in the wilderness, and nobody will know where you are buried." Well, there was a practical reason for not revealing where Moses was to be buried, because it would become a shrine. We Jews are very big on shrines. We have the Western Wall. We have any number of synagogues in Israel. I remember one in particular in the holy city of Kabbalah. And what was significant there is that it looked pretty plain. But then what happened was the Rebbe had a young man who was sleeping in the shul, and the young man said, "Rebbe, how can I repay you?" And the Rebbe said, "Oh, well," he said, "I don't know. Why did you put a coat of paint on the ark?" So when the Rebbe got there the next morning, he was amazed that the ark was covered with a virtual rainbow of colors. So, as I say, these are all synagogues. But where is Moses? We have no idea where Moses is. There are all kinds of kavarot, all kinds of sepulchers and memorials and burial places for all the various avot ve'imahot, that is the patriarchs and the matriarchs. We have no idea where Moses is buried. So why didn't God let Moses down easy? Why was he so seemingly cruel to him? Well, the point is that Moses was the chief of the prophets, both of those who preceded and those who followed him. He was able to speak with God panim el panim, face to face, which is interesting because God, of course, has no face. But no other prophet spoke with God on this basis. Likewise, we have any number of stories about Moses teaching Torah and learning Torah, and he was very good at this. As a matter of fact, there's a story that when Moses was getting older, he said, "Can you grant me a wish?" And God said, "Yes, just as long as it doesn't involve crossing over Jordan, going to the promised land, all that stuff." And Moses said, No, I just want to know what's going to happen to the Jews in the future. What's going to happen to Torah study in future? And God said, "Turn around." So Moses gave a little sort of half turn, and then he found himself in the back of a very big lecture hall. And there up front, and you know how it is in those lecture halls, sometimes you can barely make out the speaker. And Moses saw a man, and he was listening to this man, a rabbi obviously, teach Torah. And they got to a section, and one of the students said, "Rebbe, how do we know that the Torah is the way you said?" And the rabbi, who turned out was Rabbi Akiva, the greatest Talmudist of all, said, "Zeh halacha l'Moshe miSinai." This is a law given to Moses on Sinai. And Moses was happy, because up till then, he had been sitting in the back, totally at a loss about what was being discussed. He couldn't follow the Talmudic reasoning at all. And he was very gratified to hear this mysterious rabbi, Rabbi Akiva, give him the credit. And then Moses said to God, "God, one more favor." And God said, "What is it?" He said, "I want to know the fate of that rabbi." He says, "I want to know what happens to him later on in his life." And God says, "Well, you're not going to like it." And Moses says, "Nevertheless, I want to see." And God said, "Turn around." So Moses turned around once again, and he saw that he was in the Forum. He was in the Roman circus, and Rabbi Akiva was being tortured by having the skin flayed off of him with iron combs. And Moses was aghast. And he said, but God, this man's tongue spoke pearls of wisdom. How can you let this happen to him? And God said, be silent, Ben Amram. Such is my will. So it's a sad story. But you see, we have no idea in reality what happens to different people. Why, it says, tzaddik v'ralo, rasha v'tovlo. Somebody can be a tzaddik, a righteous person, and have bad things happen to them. Someone can be an evildoer and have good things happen to them. We have no idea why. We think that there is justice in the universe, and we work to bring that justice, but these things happen. Any thoughts, questions, anything? Okay. All right, at the bottom of page 70. שיבנה בית המקדש במהרה בימינו, ותן חלקנו בתורתך. שיבנה בית המקדש במהרה בימינו, ותן חלקנו בתורתך. שיבנה בית המקדש במהרה בימינו, ותן חלקנו תורתך. שיבנה בית המקדש במהרה בימינו, ותן חלקנו תורתך. ושם נעבדך ברכבלם ושנים קדמוניות. All right, having learned the Shtickle Torah, I ask you all to please rise. On page 71, we have the Kaddish to Rabbanan. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, Amen. Yomad yivrach irutei v'yamlich malutei. V'chayechon v'yimeichon, v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. Ma'agalal v'zman kariv v'yimru, Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, v'yolamu leil maya. Yitborach, Yishtabach, Ha'ar v'tromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei k'kudisha b'richu, v'yela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'miran b'yalma v'yimru, Amen. Al Yisroel v'yal Rabbanan, v'yal Talmidehon, v'yal kol Talmidehon, v'yal kol mon v'yaskin v'yoraita, V'yatra ha'dein v'divachol atar v'yatar, Yehi lahon l'chon shlama rabba, Chila v'chizda v'rachamin, V'chayin arichin v'zon v'vicha, U'forkana min kadam avuhon, V'shmaya v'imru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, V'chayim tovim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, U'brachmav yaseh shalom, Aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'yal kol yoshvei tevel, v'yimru, Amen. All right, please be seated. Page 72. Hayom Yom Shabbat Kodesh, Shebo hoyel v'him omrim, V'eit hamikdash, Moshir liyom hashabbat. And the last two lines. Odin avunda seva, Yeshenim rananim iyu, Leakid ki ashar Adonai, Suriv lavlatabu. Mourners Kaddish, mourners only, please rise. 82. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, Amen. Yomad yivrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon v'meichon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael. V'an kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach v'yolam leil maya. Yitborach v'yishtabach, Yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei nekudisha b'richu, V'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechamata, Ta'miran b'yalma v'yimru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. All right, please remain standing.
Paul, open the Torah.
Paul, open the Torah.
Paul, open the Torah.
My general approbation.
Baruch Shema v'haya olam.
Baruch Shema v'haya olam. Baruch Hu. Baruch Oseh Bereshit. Baruch Omer Yosef. Baruch Ozer Umekayim. Baruch Mirachem Haaretz. Baruch Mirachem Habriyot. Baruch Meshalem Sachar Tov L'Reyav. Baruch Elohad Yam Lanetzach. Baruch Bodeh Umatziyu. Baruch Shemo. Please be seated. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu. Oel Avraham Avinu. Yishubach Neforesh Shmo Baruch. Yachid Chel Melech Mishubach Neforesh Ad Shmo HaGadol. Baruch Ato Adonai Melech Milal Patishpachu. Continuing now on 96 with the Ashrei. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha Od Yalucha Selah. Ashrei Am Shekach Lo. Ashrei Am Shernai Eloha Tila LeDavid. Tila Daber Pi V'Varech Tavas Hashem Gadshel Elam Boed. Anachnu Nivarech Ya Me'ata B'Yad Olam. Hallelujah. Page 100, midway down. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. El Bekodsho. Hallelujah. Birkiauzo. Hallelujah. Biguratam. Hallelujah. Kiragulao. Hallelujah. Take a shofar. Hallelujah. B'nei Velachinor. Hallelujah. Tofu machol. Hallelujah. B'minim v'yugav. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. B'tziltzilei shama. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. B'tziltzilei truah. Kol Shabbat Hallelujah. 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 Kol Shabbat Hallelujah. 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 Please rise. Baruch Hanai Le'olam. Amen v'amen. 103. Adonai imloch li'olam vohed. Adonai imloch li'olam vohed. Adonai amrucha Moshe b'Elohim. V'alu Moshe b'yartzilish b'arisav. V'aytar amrucha. V'melech ha'karetz b'ganei echad. U'shemo echad. Please be seated. Last two stanzas. At dawn I seek you, refuge rock sublime. My morning prayers I offer, those at evening time. I tremble in your awesome presence contrite. For my deepest secrets I strip before your sight. My tongue, what can it say? My heart, what can it do? What is my strength? What is my spirit too? But should music be sweet to you in mortal key, your praises will I sing so long as breath's in me. Page 104. Nishmat kol chai torech et shemcha Adonai Eloheinu. It's been good. Davi baruch nafshi et Adonai, v'kol kravai et shem kadsho. Shulchan ad marom v'kadosh shemo, v'yishrim titalal, uv'divrei tzadikim titporach, uv'ilshon chasidim titromam, uv'kerev kedoshim tikadash. Makelot v'vevot amachal beit Yisroel, shekein chovat kol hayetzurim lifanecha. Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei avoteinu, leodot behalel, l'shabeach lefoer, l'romeim la'adeh levorech li'aleh, Ulekales al kol divrei shira v'tishbechot David ben Yishai avdecha v'shichecha Yishtabach shimcha v'ad malkeinu. 106. V'rachot v'odot v'atov v'erolam Baruch atah Adonai El Melech Gadol Batishbachot El Ha'odahot Adon Haniflaot Abocher B'shirei Zimra Melech Olamim, please rise. V'kadal v'kadash, Shonei Rabbah. V'divrach ilutei, v'yamim avutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayei t'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'ala, u'vizman kariv, Imeru, Amen. Yeshnei Rabba Mevorach, V'olam V'yomei Omaya, Yiparach, Yiparach, V'yishtabach, Yipoar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shemei Dekwisha Brichu, V'yela, in Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata V'lechem Ata Namiran V'alema V'meru Amen. We bow towards the ark. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Evoed. Please be seated, page 107. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech olam, yotzer or uvorei choshech, oseh shalom, uvorei et hakol. Hakol yoducha v'kol yishabchuch, lo v'yamru kadosh kadonai. The last three lines. Ein kerkecharna Eloheinu, la'olam hazeh, v'ein azulat chamalkeinu, l'chayei ha'olam. Abba, efes b'tocha galeinu, limot ha'mashiach, v'ein domeh l'cha Moshienu, v'tliat ha'metim. 108. El Adon al kol ha'masim, Baruch Umvorach V'kol Neshama, Yado V'tuvo Alei Olam, Tadu Tvuna Sovev Imoto, Hamid Kohen Achayot HaKodesh, V'nedar V'chavod Al HaMerkava, Sechut u'mishon lifnei Yisod, Chesed v'rachamim lifnei Chevoto, Tovim mi'oros shel hara Eloheinu, Yitzhar midat divina u'maskel, koach u'gvura natan bahem, liot moshli Keref Tevel, Teleim Ziv, Fikim Noga, Noes Divam Bechol Olam, Semefim B'Tzeitam, Sasim B'Voam, Osim L'Leim Ha'Ritzon Konam, Pierre B'Chavod, Nodim Lishno, Salav Yerina, Zecher Malchuto, Karal HaShemesh, V'Yizracho, Raviki, Tzurat Havana, Sheva, Nodim Lo, Kol Seva, Marom, Tiferet U'Kedula, Seraphim Yochai, Hayot HaKodesh, Loel Asher Shabbat, B'Gol Masim Yom HaShviyah, T'lav Yashkiz V'Kisek Vodu. 109. Tiferet is more sheerly Yom HaShabbat, Tov Lo Tov Lo Adonai. Tiporach Marashin HaShavach Maseyatecha, Amorei Or Shasiti Yafaru Chasera. Page 110. Tiporach Zureinu Makin V'Galenu, Orei Kedushin, Ishtabach Shimcha, U'ad Malkeinu. V'chulam Mekabelim Alehem, Ol Malchut Shamayim Serizeh, V'notnim Rishut Zelazeh, Artish Teotzram, V'nachat Ruach, V'safa V'rav Nima, Yushakulam Keachad, Onim Yomrim B'ira, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melech Haaretz Kivoto, Me'alfanim Mechayot HaKodesh, Rash Gadol Metasim Li'umat Srafim, Yumatam Mishabdim V'Omrim Baruch Adonai Mikomo Oel Baruch Nimogiteinu. Last three lines on 110. Or Chadash Al Siyam Ta'ir, Or Chadash Al Siyam Ta'ir, Or Chadash Al Siyam Ta'ir, Or Chadash Al Siyam Ta'ir. V'nizke kulanu v'nizra le'oro, v'nizke kulanu Meira Leoro Baruch Atah Adonai Yotzer HaMiyoro 111 Hava Rabbah Avtanu Adonai Eloheinu. This is the first couple of lines of the second paragraph on 111. V'ha'erenu b'toratecha v'dabek libeinu v'tzavtecha v'yached levavenu li'ahava u'lira et shemecha v'lo nebosh And the last, at the box towards the bottom of 111. V'havienu l'shalom ve'arva kanfot haaretz v'toliteinu komimiyut v'arteinu ki elbo yeshuatata Uvanu b'charta ikalam b'lashon v'keraftanu shimcha gadol selam v'yemet v'hodot l'cha u'liachecha v'yahava Baruch Atah Adonai Ocher b'Chai Yisrael Page 112, cover the eyes. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Cover the eyes. Baruch Shem Kivod, Malchuto, Le'olam Goed, V'yavta et Adonai Echad. ובכל מיודך, והיו הדברים האלה, אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, כשננתם לפניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך לביתך, ולכתך על הדרך, ושבתך ובבניך, ושבתם להיות על ידיך, והיו טוטפות בעיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. Gather up the tzitziot, and we'll do the silent reading. Himei Hashemayim al haaretz. Page 113, tzitzit paragraph. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor, Tahaber el bnei Yisrael, v'amarta alehem, v'yasu lahem tzitzit. Al kanfetehem l'dorotam, v'natnu al tzitzit. Hayalachem l'tzitzit, uritem oto, u'zchartem et kol mitzvot Adonai, v'yasitem otam, v'lo taturu, acharei v'lavechem, v'acharei nechem, asher atem zonim achareihem. Leman tizkeru, v'yasitem et kol mitzvotai, v'yasitem kedoshim le'elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hoseiti lechem le'eretz Mitzrayim, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. One more kiss for the tzitziot, last two lines of the middle paragraph. Dor vador uchayam, ushmo chayam, v'chisod achon, u'malchuto v'minato, lahad kayam. Kiss, and drop the tzitziot, and we continue on page 114. Tehilot li'elyon, Aretz u'mevorach, Moshe u'bnei Yisrael, lechalu u'shira, shira b'simcha rabba, v'yamiru chulan, mi'chamocha, Elohim Adonai, mi'chamocha, Nedar ba'kodesh, Torah Tfilot, Osei Feleh, Shira Chadasha, Shirchu Giulim, V'shimcha Asfat Hayam, Yacharulam, Oduvim Minchu, Yaru. Please rise. Adonai Lo, Le'olam Poed, Sur Yisrael, Kuma B'ezrat Yisrael, Uvdei Kumecha, Yehuda V'Yisrael, Go Aleinu, Adonai Tzebaot Shema, Kadosh Yisrael, Baruch Adonai, Goal Yisrael. 115b. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach, Ufia Giti Latecha, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Elohei HaGadol, HaGibor, HaDorah, El Elyon, Gonel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei HaKol, Zocher Chasdei Avot, V'mei Goel, V'bnei B'neihem, V'man Shemo B'yahava, Melech Oseh U'Yoshiyah, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ogen Abraham, V'beit Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, V'chayin Eitim HaTorah V'Hoshiyah, Moridato, V'chalkel Chaim B'chesed, V'chayin Eitim B'rachamim, Soromech Noflim Umatir Asurim, Umekayim Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Nichamocha Al Gevurot, Umidov Melach, Melech Melit Mechayeh, Umatzliach Yeshua, V'nemar Atzalach Hayot Metim, Baruch Atah Adonai, Yisrael Metim. 116. Kadesh Eshimcha Ba'olam, Kishem Shem Abdishim, Oto Bishmei Morom, Avatu, Al Yad Nevi'echa, V'kara Zeh Zeh V'yamar, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melech haaretz Kimodo, Oz B'kol, Rash Gadol, Adir V'chazak, Mashlim Kol, Midnasim, V'yum HaTzerafim, V'yum HaTam, Baruch Adonai, B'mkomo, Chamakenu Tofia V'timloch Aleinu, Ki Mechakim Anachnu Lach, Otai Timloch Tzion, V'karav Yameinu Li'olam Va'ed, Tishkon, Titgadal, Titgadash, V'tov Yerushalayim Ircha, L'dor Vador, L'dor Vador, U'Netzach Nitzachim, V'yeneinu Tirena Malchutecha, Hadavar Hamur, Shirei Uzecha, Al Yedei David, Mashiach Tzidkecha, Yimloch Adonai Elam, Elohim Tzion, L'dor Vadar, Hallelujah, L'dor Vadar Nagid Kadlecha, U'lenetzach Nitzachim B'kedushatcha, Nagdish, Mishmach Eloheinu, Mipir lo Yemushni Elam Voed, Kiel Melech Kadosh Kadosh Baruch Atah Adonai Moel HaAdomish. Continuing silently, the Amidah ends on 120.
Okay.
You want to lift up the Torah? No. Someone's got to take it. Peter, you want to take it out?
Shabbat after Tisha B'Av. This is we're supposed to be comfortable.
Esther, you be Cain, you be Levi. Okay, then Kerwin the third, you be fourth. You'll take out the Torah. Oh, thanks,
I just
Joe.
wanted to
Okay,
say,
somebody's got to do it.
I thought you're gonna lift it.
No, not me.
Oh, I can do
To
that.
apologize
You
to
can
my...
lift it too, okay.
Hi, Jeff. Okay. I'm back. I'm still here.
You ran away.
No, I wanted to explain that we are, even though it's Shabbat, we're still in the midst of funeral preparations for a longtime member, let her rest in peace, Roz Carniol, who was a good friend of really all of us. You'd have liked her. She called a spade, she took no prisoners, that kind of thing. But
She was very smart.
anyway, she was one of the original founders of the congregation, and God gave her years, although it's never enough time. She was 100 when she passed away yesterday.
Who was this?
Roz Carniol. I don't know if you knew her. She came to temple meetings. She was active. How much of this will creep into my hesped, my eulogy this morning? I can't. Tomorrow morning. Tomorrow at noon, at 1 o'clock. Tomorrow the funeral's at 1 o'clock. I can't say. 1 o'clock, yes, at Forest Lawn. Forest Lawn. I suspect it'll be in the older section because she belonged there. Yeah. Anyway, the point is that even though we're not supposed to discuss this on Shabbat, rabbis always make exceptions for notable people. She wasn't particularly religious, but she had a very, very, very strong traditional sense. This is a story I'll tell, which again may not make it into the eulogy. But what happened was she and her late husband Herman were very active in the community. I think he dealt in fruit and vegetables.
No, he was a shoe.
He was a shoe.
He was a
he
shoe
sold
salesman.
shoes.
Oh, okay. Well, gotta wear
Yeah.
shoes. Okay.
With Hirschman and Son. Right?
And they were invited to a friend's house. They were the only Jews there. Nothing unusual about that. But I suspect this was the late 50s, early 60s, and the conversation among the gathered turned to racial situations. And they did not speak about other folks in a complimentary way. And Roz did not take that quietly. She told them off. And later on, Herman said, Roz, you got to watch it. I mean, I do business with these people. It was a thin line, really, back in those days. Anyway, the idea of doing a levaya is very important. The strongest mitzvot, the strongest commandments one can think of, are those involving the dead, because there's no way for them to reciprocate. So anything we do involved in that, every other congregation, I'm not criticizing, but every other congregation I've been involved with had their own Chevra Kadisha, their own burial society. We would get together and do the preparations ourselves. But Florida is a different planet. Otherwise, what you do is, if you see, for example, a funeral cortege, Jewish, Gentile, anybody, going by you in the street and you're walking, you're supposed to walk a couple of steps in the direction of that cortege, l'chavod hamet, for the sake to honor the deceased person whom you may not even know, but it's still considered honorable. It's tough. It's always tough to say goodbye to our friends. Thank you for listening. All right, we'll take out the Torah now.
Okay. take out the Torah.
So take
Okay.
out the
Okay.
Torah somewhere.
Okay, Peter, we have a rabbi in chief, so.
You're elected.
Yes, ma'am, yes, sir.
Somebody's got to do it. I'll do it.
All right, please rise, page 139. Ein k'mochem Elohim Adonai, ve'ein k'maasecha, malchutcha malchut elamim, v'shavtecha b'dor v'dor, Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimlok v'olam v'ohed, Adonai hoyos v'yamol yitein, Adonai yoreh etamo v'shalom, Amin. Heitiv alitzoncha et Zion, Tirechot Yerushalayim, Hidecha levadatachnu, Melech Elrom Denisa, Adon Olam. Mark is open. Vayehi ben Saharon, Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, Yafusu Oivecha, Yanusu Nisanecha, Ipanecha, Yimitzion, Teisei Torah, Yimitzion, Teisei Torah, Udevar Adonai, Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan, Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan, Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael, B'kedushato. On page 140, the second stanza. Be'anarafes, Be'rishmei Kadisha, Kadisha Yakira, Anayimar Tushbechan, Be'anarafes, Be'anarafes, Be'rishmei Kadisha, Kadisha Yakira, Anayimar Tushbechan, Yeherava Kadama, Titivtav Libi, Noraita, Vitashlim Vishalim, Dilibi, Diliba Dechalama, Yisrael, V'tavu Chayim, V'yisham, Amen.
Another one.
Never happened.
Okay, come on.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. We bow towards the ark. Hallel Adonai iti, straighten up. Unaram Ema Shemo Yachdav. Echad Adonai, Hallelujah. Hallelujah, 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 Ol Hashamayim, Uzoret,
Everybody grab the other end. Everybody grab the other end.
Be seated.
Got it?
You got it.
Thank you.
That's your color, Peter.
Torah portion is Vo'et Hanan. I had a finish before I squirreled it away. Vo'et Hanan means I entreated God, and it's the second, what page?
755.
755. So you can tell with the changes of the seasons, we're getting closer to the end of the Torah, and as soon as we complete it, we resume its reading again, so that Satan Hamakatreg, Satan the accuser, who is a metaphor, should not tell God, you see these Jews, they don't value the Torah you gave them, which is more precious than anything else in the world. So we have to immediately resume the Torah. Turn it and turn it again, for everything you need to know is in it. Okay, well, Vo'et Hanan, we are in the second Torah portion of Devarim. As we discussed last week, 2 weeks ago, Vives, what really happened, the traditional understanding of Vo'et Hanan and Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy and all that good stuff, is that Moses is giving a reviewer course to the Israelites who were born in the wilderness, because obviously they missed out on the appearance of God at Sinai, what we call the theophany, all the miracles of Egypt, the splitting of the Red Sea. One of my stories, which I really need to get back to work on as soon as I have a minute, is I tell the story from the perspective of a young captain of Egyptian cavalry who is afflicted with a soft heart, but I want to get back to that. Anyway, this is the traditional reading. Moses is giving a Cliff's Notes of the Torah, sort of tell me everything that happened up to this point. Now, to his credit, he doesn't start with Genesis. That would take a while. He just starts from the Exodus from Egypt. And that's, well, according to he's not a rabbi, Dr. James Kugel, isn't that a great name, Kugel? Who taught, yes indeed, who taught at Harvard, and then he made Aliyah, and taught at Hebrew U and Bar Ilan. The man is a genius. He says that the weight of scholarly opinion is that after the first temple was destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BCE, the demoralized, post-traumatic stress disordered refugees from Jerusalem came south to get away from the Babylonians. And instead of meeting Babylonians, luckily, they met other Israelites. This is the southern branch of Israel. They had not worshipped at the temple. They really did not follow Torah. They were living a sort of hedonistic, agrarian existence and having a swell old time. So what does one sad Jew tell another happy Jew? Does he say, let me share in your happiness? No, indeed. I'm going to bring you down, son. And the folks from the north, coming and covered with soot, no doubt, from the burning temple, terrible, and all kinds of stories of Babylonian atrocities, really awful. They meet the Southerners. The Southerners say, hey, nice to see you. Have a coconut. No, I don't think they had it. But they say, you people better straighten out. Look what happened to us. And we followed the Torah. You're not following the Torah. imagine what catastrophe God is promising you, which is what I love about Jews. We always have this sunny outlook on life in general. I'm not saying we're not entitled because of our history, but still. And that's exactly what happened. The book of Deuteronomy evolved out of that, out of the northern refugees telling the southerners they better straighten up and fly right. And which I think makes a great deal of sense. You don't have to accept it if you don't want to. The traditional reading is still, you've got these fresh-faced children born in the wilderness, and Moses says, okay, everybody gather around, I've got some bad news to tell you. As soon as I'm dead, you're going to start defaulting on the Torah, and God's not going to be happy. You know, a great deal of God's behavior in the 5 books is not terribly happy. And Moses starts by telling them his biggest catastrophe. He said, I was really, after all of these years, crossing the Jordan, going into the Promised Land. And what did I do? I struck a rock instead of talking to it. I mean, come on, who talks to rocks? But I struck the rock, not once, but twice. Why is it a bigger sin that Moses struck the rock twice?
Because the first time could have been accidental or could
Yes.
have been at anger at the moment, but the second time shows intent and purpose.
You bet. You be careful with those rocks. Okay? You never know. And furthermore, by talking to the rock, and then the rock splits open, and then the miraculous water bubbles out, that's a big miracle. If you whack the rock twice, you're possibly revealing a secret underground stream that nobody knew about.
Yes.
So it's a miracle, but it's less of a miracle. See? And God says, that's it, Moses. You blew it. You're going to die in the wilderness. On the plus side, says God, I will bury you. I will give you this great covet, this great honor that the Lord God, maker of heaven and earth, will bury you. But nobody's going to know where you're buried. Why?
Make a martyr out of him.
Yes, they didn't want it to be a shrine. Israel is full of shrines. Oh my goodness. I mean, we got a little taste of that years ago, but I'm walking through Israel, and the guide is telling me this, and the fellow who's watching the tomb is telling me that. My favorite, of course, was we wound up at a windswept, desert-like cemetery in Tiberias, in Tiberia. From where we stood, you could just see the water line. The water line was going down even then. And there was this wizened old man, dried by the sun and the wind, and he was the caretaker, the guard of the cemetery. What exactly is there to guard in a cemetery? At least in Israel. But all the sarcophagi protruded out of the rock. They were pure stone. Because generally we don't go for sarcophagi and things like that unless they're attached to the earth. And he showed us this particular tomb, and I was impressed. Apparently, there are some rabbis out there who, even after they're deceased, are still hard at work. Okay, I do not expect to be one of those rabbis, but nonetheless, you shouldn't read other people's mail, but I saw, you know. And so we wrote our request. I didn't know if I should do it in Hebrew or English. I figured go with Hebrew, you never know. And I left it on his sarcophagus. I took a rock from someone else and I weighted down our note.
You're excused.
Yes, thank you. But I had no idea that Jews had all of these beliefs. You see, it's totally remarkable. I understand that at the Rebbe's grave, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he's got a lot of notes.
Yes, oh yes.
They have to clear out his notes every so often.
Absolutely.
And at the Western Wall, there's a
The
special
Western Wall,
detail
yeah.
of people to remove the notes. Okay, because one of our friends who went to high school in Israel, he said after the 6-day war, they took a field trip and went to the wall, and they were having a good time taking out the notes and reading them. You really shouldn't read God's mail. Okay? So, anyway, where do we leave Moses? He's still very much with us, and I personally believe that his spirit lives. He was the most humble of men. He did not protest, although we find he does protest. He's crying from the heart. He's saying, but God, I've been your boy all these years, 40 years and before.
Yes.
And why don't I get a little softer treatment? And God says, this is my will. Which kind of says something about life in the end. Okay? Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. It's not a bad Torah reading. Oh, look, I just hit upon another one of those verses that says if you don't do X, Y, Z, it's not going to be good. See, I'll tell you, I'm really trying to get away from this frame of mind. That if you expect the worst,
Yeah, because nobody else can.
thank you, Jim. It's all right. Let's move on to the Torah reading. All right.
Need a Kaaba. He's going to do the Haftorah. You can't get him.
Oh, need a gabbai.
You can go by on Haftorah
You
too.
want Rashi gabbai?
That would be really nice. You give a sense of style to me. Okay, do you want this?
Sure, then I'll
Okay.
find something.
Good shot. Oh, what is also special about this Torah reading is we do a second rest for the seventh Aliyah. We do a recitation of the Ten Commandments. The first one was in Exodus, and this one is obviously Deuteronomy. V'yasor v'yogim yashil kol achosim bo v'ramah romein akol huvogdei lahen etunu kavod Torah kohanit kirvi tamod giveret Esther Shulamit bat harav Eliyahu. Why do I have such trouble remembering Eliyahu? It's not like I haven't heard it before. V'gitl
HaKohen.
HaKohen Rishona Bar Shanatan Torah V'Vedushato V'yatim Adekivon Elechem Chaim Kulchem Ayu
Baruch Adonai HaBarak.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher baruch rabanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai notein Torah.
Amen.
What page are we on?
We are on page
755.
755,
Thank you.
chapter 3, 23 verse.
Amen. Voet Hanan el Adonai Boitahi Lemor Adonai Elohim Atah Yechilota Leraot Et Abdecha Et Gadlecha Yadcha Chazaka Asher Mi'el Bashamayim Uba'aretz Asher Yasek Masecha V'chigurotecha Ebrana V'yer'e Et Haaretz HaTova Asher Biver HaYarden Hahar HaTov Hazeh Balvanon
You
Vaita
want to do the Israel?
Badavar, it goes down to Badavar Hazeh.
Wrote it. You want to do the
Oh, I gave an extra one, I'm sorry.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I'm going down to Badavar Hazeh.
Give her the microphone.
Okay. Okay, I love you, Joe. While you're going around, can you do an appeal?
That's a good one.
That's a good job.
I like that, I like that.
I love it.
That is good.
וידבר אדוני בלבנכם ולא שמע אלי ויאמר אדוני אלי רב לך אל תוסף דבר אלי בדבר הזה.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet chayei olam natav b'tocheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai notein Torah.
Amen. Yasher koach. Shady. Okay, very nice. Thank you so much. Okay. Yamod Rabbi Yosef ben Moshe Yankel v'Chana Bluma Halevi Shady. Ale, Rosh Pizga.
Baruch Hu es Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Olam Moed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher b'chap ono mikol mi v'nosan lanu Esther so. Baruch Atah Adonai nosein Torah.
Amen.
Amen. Ale Rosh Pizga v'sainecha yama v'tzafona v'temano mizracha. ראה בנך עיניך כי לא תעבור את הירדן הזה וצב את יהושע בחזקהו ימצאהו כי הוא יעבור לפני העם הזה הוא ינחיל אותם את הארץ אשר תראה ונשב בגמול בית פיור.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher nosan lanu Torah emes v'chayei olam notav v'secheinu. Baruch atah Adonai nosein Torah.
Amen. Yeshua. Shlishi. Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Yamod Reb Yitzchak
Ben Yeshaya.
Ben Yeshaya
Alevi
Alevi
V'Zisel.
V'Zisel Shlishi.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach Le'olam Bo. Baruch Hu Es Adonai Hamavarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Bo'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach Le'olam Bo'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam. Asher bocha bona mikol ha'amim v'nosan lanu es Toraso. Baruch Atah Adonai Nosein HaTorah.
Baruchem Hayom. This particular aliyah ends with the famous verse, "And you who cleave unto the Lord your God are all alive today." We say that just before the first aliyah. Amen. V'ata Yisrael shema lachukim ve'lemishpatim asher anochi melamed etchem לעשות למען תחיו, ובאתם ורישתם את הארץ, אשר אדוני אלוהי אבותיכם נותן לכם לא תוסיפו על הדבר אשר אנוכי מצווה אתכם, ולא תגרעו ממנו לשמור את מצוות אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר אנוכי מצווה אתכם. עיניכם הרואות את אשר עשה אדוני בבעל פאור, כי כל האיש אשר הלך אחרי בעל פאור השמידו אדוני אלוהיך בקרבך, ואתם הדבקים באדוני אלוהיכם חיים כולכם היום.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam. Asher notan lanu Torah emes v'chayei olam notav v'secheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Nosein HaTorah.
Amen. Yeshua. Revi. Okay.
I know you're coming in.
Yamod Reb
You gotta get done.
Tzvi Yehuda ben Yitzchak Isaac Umar Yasol Revi.
Baruch Hu Es Adonai Hamavarach.
Baruch Le'olam Bo'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamavarach Le'olam Bo'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam. Asher bocha bona mikol ha'amim v'nosan lanu es Toraso. Baruch Atah Adonai Nosein HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Ri'ei למדתי אתכם חוקים ומשפטים כאשר ציווני אדוני אלוהי לעשות כן בקרב הארץ אשר אתם באים שמה לרשתה, ושמרתם עשיתם כי הוא חכמתם ובינתכם לעיני אוהבים אשר ישמעון את כל החוקים האלה, ויאמרו רק אם חכם ונבון הגוי הגדול הזה, כי מי גוי גדול אשר לו אלוהים קרובים אליך, בת כאדוני אלוהינו בכל קוראינו אליו.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam. Asher nosan lanu Torah emes v'chayei olam notav v'secheinu. Baruch Atah Adonai Nosein HaTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Yeshua.
What did he say, Erwin? What did he say? I missed what he said about
He said there's
it.
nobody else can do
He loves you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
No.
You gave him a big charge. He loves you going around. He asked if you would ask for donations while you were at it, that's all.
Oh, okay. It was a big boy. Tamod Geveret Chana Sora Bat Yenta Leah V'Avram Simcha Baruch Chamishi. There it is. Umi goy gadol. That's it. Who's a big goy?
Baruch Hu Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher baruch rabanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torto. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Yes, 8, 9, and 10. Yes, okay. Amen. ומגוי גדול אשר לו חוקים ומשפטים צדיקים ככל התורה הזאת, אשר אנוכי נותן לפניכם, היום רק אם אשר הישמע לך ושמר נפשך מאוד, פן תשכח את הדברים אשר ראו עיניך, ופן יסורו מלבביך כל ימי חייך, והודעתם לבניך ולבני בניך, יום אשר אמרת לפני אדוני אלוהיך בחורב, לאמור אדוני אלי, הקהה לי את העם להשמיעם את דברי אשר ילמדון. Nope, that's not it. It's ילמדון, it's the wrong ילמדון. ילמדון ויראה אותי כל הימים אשר הם חיים על האדמה, ואת בניהם ילמדון.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torot emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen.
Thank you,
else
thank
to do
you.
it.
Your supply.
That, I give a kiss too.
Okay. Watch it, though.
When do you, Paul, when do you go next, or?
Number 6.
Who's number 6?
Peter, you'll be number 6, I'll
That's
stand
the same
with
thing.
you.
You want me to stand there?
Yeah, sure, fine. I see you've got the cymbals between your legs and the drum on your back. Oh my, man for all seasons. Okay. She. And you got near and you stood there.
Baruch Hu Adonai Havorach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
11, 12, and 13. Luchot Avanim, stone tablets. Vatikruvun. Amen. Vatikruvun v'tamtum tachar ha'ar, v'ha'ar bo'er ba'esh, ad lev ha'shamayim, choshech anam v'arafel, v'yedaber Adonai alechem, mitoch ha'esh, כל דברים אשר שומעים ותמונה עיניכם רואים זולתי כל ויגד לכם את בריתו אשר ציווה אתכם לעשות 10 הדיברות ויכתבם על 2 לוחות אבנים.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Yashikoah.
Continue.
Is there a chumash? There's a chumash over there. Okay, let's cover it.
We're good. We're good.
Okay, 1 second, I need this. All right, we're up to Shishi. We just did Shishi, which means at this time we do the Mishnah Berach for the Cholim, the folks who are not well. And okay, any names? I have some names.
Mitchell Cohen.
For Shlema.
Give it an honorable mention.
For Shlema, yes. Rosanna.
Marky Lackman, Allison Kaufman.
For Shlema.
Robert
For
Wallace.
Shlema. For Shlema, yes.
Jeannie Tarrant.
For Shlema. Anyone else? Okay. We think of Jeff Stern, Ellen Kaiser, Rachel Spearer, Eileen Carroll, Rhoda. Okay, well, glad you're here.
It's good to have one.
Yes. Inez Pasher, it's therapeutic. Baby Eli Jacob, Norma Fogel, Robert Tilson, Doreen Christopher, Joni Kahn, Barbara Osofsky, Lauren Lobel, and Tony Jinkata. Yishuberach Avoteinu, Avram Yitzchak v'Yakov, Sara Rivka Rachel Leah Hu Yivarech et kol hacholim Beit HaKnesset Hazeh Refuat HaNefesh Refuat HaGuf Hashtav Gezman Karev B'Yom Shabbat Kodesh V'Nomar Amen. At this time we're going to do a dilog. We're going to jump to the Ten Commandments, which are at the end of the Torah portion.
759.
Yes, chapter 5, verse 1. This is a longish one. Who's number 7? Where's Joe? Who let Joe go?
Paul, don't you have,
Wait, isn't he volunteer?
don't you have maftir, Paul?
Do you have Maftir? Are you doing the Haftorah?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I hate to send you back again.
So Rabbi, why don't you take 7?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I love this. I never had Judaism. You make it up as you go along. Thank you, Esther.
Oh, we're very inspired.
Okay. Seat of the pants.
So who's number 7?
I'm going to be number 7.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and I'm going to Lane also.
Who's okay? Peter has to call you.
Peter, you have to call me up.
Peter has to call you.
Harav, Chaim David, then Yisrael Zelig, Ethel, Shavi. Very nice. Oh. Anything this man cannot do. Okay. Oh, let's go to the Ten Commandments.
Are we supposed to stand?
I think we are
I think we're supposed to stand.
And yes. Yes, please rise for the Ten Commandments. Okay. It's a very nice paragraph at the beginning, so I'll put that in also. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Li'olam Voed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, V'natan Lanu Et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. And Moses said to all of Israel, and he said to them, Hear, O Israel, the laws and the ordinances which I am speaking in your ears this day, and study them and observe them to do them. For the Lord our God is making a covenant in Chorev with you. Not only with your ancestors has God made this covenant, but rather with all of us who are here this day, who are alive face to face with God. And God is speaking with you from the mountain, from the midst of the flame. I am standing between God and yourselves, and at this time to tell you the word of God, because you are afraid of the fire, but the mountain will not fall upon you. Anochi Adonai Elohecha, asher hotzeiticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeit avadim. Lo yeh lecha Elohim acherim al panai, lo taseh lecha pesel kol tmuna asher b'shamayim mimal, v'asher ba'aretz mitachat, v'asher b'mayim mitachat la'aretz, lo tishtachaveh lahem v'lo ti'avdeim, ki anochi Adonai Elohecha elkana, hokir avon avot, al banim v'ashileshim v'yariveim, v'sonai v'yoseh chesed lo lafim, Lo havai ul'shomrei mitzvatai. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, because God will not suffer anyone who does this. Guard the day of Shabbat to make it holy, as God has commanded you. In 6 days you shall work and do all of your labor, and the 7th day is a Sabbath to God, the Lord your God. Do not do any labor, you and your son and your daughter and your servant and your maidservant and your ox and your donkey and all of your animals and the stranger who is within your gates. in order that they shall rest your servant and your maidservant like you. And you should remember that you were slaves in the land of Egypt, and God took you out of there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. And therefore God is commanding you to observe the day of the Sabbath. Honor your father and your mother, as God has commanded you, in order that your days shall be long, and in order that your life shall be good upon the earth which the Lord your God gives you. Do not murder, do not covet, do not steal, do not envy do not bear false witness against your neighbor, and you shall not have adultery with the wife of your friend. B'chol ha'toiva beit re'echa sadeu v'yavado v'amato v'shoro v'chamoro v'chol asher l're'echa. That's it. V'chol asher l're'echa. Baruch atah Adonai. May be seated. Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torat emet. Chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. All right, the maftir for Moed Chanan. 775. I've got, okay, chapter 7, verses 9, 10, and 11. Okay, let's cover it up. Yamod Hamaftir. Thank you for being patient. Of course, Joe could have found something else for you to do. Joe, I said you could have found something else for him to do. Oh,
He's going to us the Torah.
That's it. Okay. What are we doing here? Okay. Next week is ACAV. I want to see ACAV. Come on, ACAV to Shmuel. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay, you're going to be the Adata. There it is.
Thank you. Baruch Adonai Baruch.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bocha bonu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'yadata ki Adonai Elohecha hu Elohim ha'el ha'ne'eman, shomer ha'brit v'ha'chesed li'ohavav u'l'shomrei mitzvotav, li'elef dor u'mashalem l'sonav, el panav lavido, lo yacher l'sono, el panav yishalem lo, v'shamarta et ha'mitzvot ve'et ha'chukim ve'et ha'mishpatim, asher אנוכי מצווך היום לעשותם.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam atah b'zechenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. If you could please rise for the half Kaddish. I should have done it after Shvi, but I didn't. Okay, thank you. Yitkara v'yikra Hashem be'rabah. Amen. Yalmad yivrach chirutei v'yimlich mahutei v'chayeichon v'yimeichon v'chay lechol Beit Yisrael agalav v'zman kariv imru. Amen.
Amen.
Ishnei ra'olam le'orach v'yolam le'ol le'omaya yisbarach Yisbarach v'yishabach v'yipoar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitala v'yitalal shemei l'kudesha b'richu v'yilam in kol brachata v'shirata v'shbachata v'rechamata Daviran v'yamav yimru. Amen. Yamdu hamagbiya v'golel. Lifting and tying. Is that you again, Paul? Well, Good to be multi-talented. Yamod Hamagbia Ve'Rachofega Vatri V'Chasha Ve'Yisrael Bal Hagba Bal Kalila. All right, as the Torah is lifted and it's heavy, we point our Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Now, is it possible for a person to hold the Torah and do the Haftorah at the same time?
Yes.
Let's find out.
Let's try.
Heavy Torah.
All right, yes, thank you. Just move one of those holders in here. Okay. Very good. What if I put things like that? Chair, that's fine.
Yeah, that's a chair.
That is slippery chair.
Okay, very good. All right, you may be seated.
Hello. Today's Haftorah is from the book of Isaiah, right?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Shabbos
I read that some scholars are not sure if there was one Isaiah, two Isaiahs, or three Isaiahs. I always imagined maybe there's a little family, the Isaiah family, and one Isaiah is writing, he's thinking and writing, and he hears the word of God, and he's writing, and he takes a break, and maybe Mrs. Isaiah sits down and picks up the pen with the quill and writes a little more, and then they have to go out, and Junior Isaiah sits down and writes something else. So it's all very interesting, but it's not important who wrote it. The important thing is that it's there, and it's this particular Haftorah is beautiful. It's on page 776, and if you read the English, it is just a magnificent piece of literature, and it is so deeply moving that it's difficult to imagine that something like this was put down almost 3,000 years ago. And this was this was either during or in the midst of or spanning the period of the Babylonian captivity, when people were kidnapped and brought to Babylon. If you look at it on a map, it's a very, very long journey by foot. But the Babylonians are meeting their comeuppance because the rising power of Persia will destroy the Babylonian Empire very shortly. And Isaiah is saying, and he does say, the road is clear. Come home, come back. You have nothing to fear because God is in control. It's not the princes As a matter of fact, but if you read the English, it even says that God is up on high. He looks down, and we're all like grasshoppers. The power of princes, the power of emperors, the power of dictators, the power of royalty, the power of presidents even are nothing compared to the power of God. And it meant to me that you can see how, it answers the question, how could a small desert tribe of nomads, which is what we were, how have we survived? All of those who sought to suppress, murder, kill, enslave us as people, they're all gone. All their empires are gone. The Egyptian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, the Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, the Roman Empire, the Holy Roman Empire, the empire of the sun and the empire upon which the sun never sets are gone. We're here. What has kept us here? I believe what has kept us here is the fact that we coalesce as a people. We all seem to gravitate towards one another. And for some of us, that's really an effort, but, but it seems to work. We're here, and that's all that counts. So, I'm very dry. Can I go grab my water?
I got it.
Thank you. Have to excuse me, I'm just not used to speaking at any great length. Oh, where are we?
776.
Ah, here it is. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher bochar b'nviim tovim v'rotza v'divreihem hanemorim be'emet Baruch atah Adonai Habocher b'Torah u'v'Moshe Abdo Yisrael Amo u'v'Imdi ha'emet v'tzedek. Well, I'm going to do some of it in Hebrew and some of it in English, because the latter part of the English, I think, really gets to the meat of it. But the Hebrew is very haunting.
Handle like it.
Nachama, nachamu, 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 Ami, Yomar, Elohechem, Dabru, Alev, Yerushalayim, Dibru, Eleha, Ki, Molaha, Sabah, Ki Nirtzah, Abona, Ki Likra, Miyad Adonai Kiflayim B'chol Chatoteha Kol Korei B'midbar Eloheinu kol gay yinasei v'chol har v'giva yishpalu Yehaya He'akol Lamishur V'char Chasim Levikya V'nigla Kavod Adonai Varau Chol Basar Yachtav Hi Adonai Diber Kol Amer Kara V'amar Ma Ekra Kol Habasar Chatzir v'chol hasdo ketzitz pastadeh Yavesh Chatzir Navel tzitz Ki Ruach Adonai Nishva bo Achen Chatzir ha'am Yavesh Chatzir Navel tzitz Udvar Eloheinu Yakun Leolam Al Hargavoa Aleilach Mavaseret Sion Harimi Vakoach Koleich Mivaseret Yerushalayim Harimi El Torai Imri Liarei Hod Yehuda Hine Elohechem Hine Adonai Elohim V'chazak Yavo Uzro V'shalalo Hine Secharo Ito Ufulato Lefonav Roe Edro Yirevis Bizro Yo Yikabetz Melaim Evchaz Chad Uvchat Ko Yisa Alot Yinachel Mimadot B'Shalot Mayim B'Shamayim B'Zaret Tikain V'chol Bashlish Afar Haaretz Ushakal Batheles Harim Ugvayot B'Mozanayim Mi Tikain Et Ruach Adonai T'yesh Atzeto Yodienu Et mi no yatz Vaivinehu, Valamdehu, Bo'orach Pishpat, Valamdehu, Da'at, Yaderech, Tevunot, Yodi'enu. Hein goyim kamar midli Hosha shachap moznayim nechshavu heim yim kedah yito Uvanunom ein day be'er V'chayato ein di ola Kal hagoyim kayim negado me'efes V'chocho nichshavolo Yelmi Tadam Yiyun El Uma Tamud Archulo Hafesel Naseh Sav Chatzrosh V'tzarei Bazachav Yarakenu Urtu Kod Fesef Tzureif Hamsuk kan teruma eitz lo yirkav yivchar charash chachum yavakash lo lehachin feselo yimod. Well, now I'd like to do the rest in English because this is stanza 21. Do you not know? Have you not heard? Has it not been told to you from the beginning? Do you not understand the foundations of the earth? It is He who sits above the circle of the earth, and whose inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heaven like a curtain, and he spreads them out like a tent to dwell. Who brings princes to naught? Judges of the land he made like a thing of naught. Even they were not planted, even they were not sown, even as though their trunk was not rooted in the earth. And also he blew on them, and they dried up, and a tempest shall carry them away like straw. Now to you, whom will you compare me, that I should be equal, says the Holy One. Lift up your eyes on high and see who created these, who takes out their host by number, all of them. He calls by name because of his great might and because he is strong in power. No one is missing. That's pretty powerful stuff. And they're not mincing any words. So I'll just do the last stanza in Hebrew. She'u maron einechem uru Mivara Eile Hamotzi V'mispar Siva'am L'chulam B'shem Yikra Merav Onim V'yamitz Koach Yishlo not Nedar. And that's pretty much it. Okay.
Very good, excellent. Wonderful.
Oh, my wife has heard this a lot. So.
Yay, Rita.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam Sur kol ha'alamin Tzadik b'chol hadorot Ha'el ha'nemon Ha'omer b'Yosef Ha'daber u'mekayim Shekol devorav emet v'tzedek Nemon Atohu Adonai Eloheinu B'namin V'davarech V'davar echad V'dvarecha Ahor lo Yeshu Reikam Ki el melech Nemon V'rachamon Atah Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el ha'nemon V'chol devarav
Amen.
Rachem Al Zion ki beit chayenu Ulam levach nefesh Toshia b'meira b'meinu Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Shemo.
Yisameach Zion b'venaha
Amen.
Shamcheinu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'eliyahu Hanavi Avdecha U'malchut Bein David Mishichecha V'imheira Yavo V'yagel V'leinu Al Kiso Li Yashev Ze V'lo V'in Chalu Od Acharim Et Kavodo Ki B'Shem Katshecha Lishmatat Lo Shela Yichbeh Ne'ru Liyom V'ed Baruch atah Adonai Magen David
Amen.
Ahal HaTorah V'yal HaVodah V'yal Havin V'yal Yom HaShabbat Hazeh Shinatan Lanu Adonai Eloheinu L'Kedusho V'Limnucha L'Kavod U'Tiferet Al HaKol Adonai Eloheinu V'Anachnu Modim Lach Umvarchin Otach Yitborach Shimcha V'fi Kol Chai Tamid Yolam V'ed Baruch atah Adonai
Baruch Shemo.
Mikadesh HaShabbat
Mazel tov, mazel tov, v'simon tov, simon tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, v'simon tov. Yehelanu, yehelanu, oh l'chol Yisrael. Yehelanu, yehelanu, oh l'chol Yisrael. Yehelanu, yehelanu. Kol Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Kol Yisrael, and Omar Amen.
Amen.
Are you here for what? What are we? All right. Yes, go ahead. Roseanne. Yes. Oh, I have it.
A prayer for our country. Our God, the God of our ancestors, We ask your blessings for our country, for its government, for its leaders and advisors, and for all who exercise, judge, and rightful authority. Teach them insights from your Torah, and that they may administer all affairs of state fairly, that peace and security, happiness and prosperity, justice and freedom may forever abide in our midst. Creator of all flesh, bless all the inhabitants of our country with your spirit. May citizens of all races and creeds forge a common bond in the true harmony, to banish hatred and bigotry, and to safeguard the ideals and free institutions that are the pride and glory of our country. May this land, under your providence, be an influence for good throughout the world, uniting all people in peace and freedom, helping them to fulfill the vision of your prophet. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, and neither shall they experience war anymore. Let us say,
Amen. Thank you. Reed is going to.
Very good, Roseanne.
Rhoda.
How are you?
It's a joy to be able to be here and to say good Shabbos to my wonderful temple family and to enjoy the recitation that Paul made. I shall certainly look up page 776. It's going to be a prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu, Sheba, Shamayim, so Yisrael go alone. Avinu, Sheba, Shamayim, so Yisrael go alone. Avinu, Sheba, Shamayim, rock and redeemer of the people Israel. Bless the state of Israel with its promise of redemption. Shield it with your love, spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth. Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them, crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy. And let us say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. It was a joy. Okay, we're ushering now.
Good job, Rhoda.
Okay. Page 151. Ashresh bebetecha hodalucha salah. Ashreyam shekachalo. Ashreyam sheranai Elohav kila leDavid. Last three lines on 152. Tila tanei daber pi v'vorech v'os Hashem gachel elam voed. Anachnu orech yamei atah v'olam. Hallelujah. Page 153. Yehalelu et Shem Adonai. Ki neskaf shemo levadu. Odo al-eretz. Shamayim, Vayarem Kerem Li'amo, Alecho, Hasidav, Livnei Yisrael Am Kirovo, Hallelujah, Hallelujah, it's more LeDavid, Amul Adonai, Abu Adonai Kavodav, Abu Adonai Kavodav Shemo, Yishtachavu Adonai Ehad HaKodesh, Ol Adonai אל הכבוד ירים אדוני על מים רבים. כל אדוני בכוח, כל אדוני בהדור, כל אדוני שובר ארזים, וישבר אדוני את ארזי הלבנון. וירקידם כמו עגל, לבנון וסריון כמו בן רמים. כל אדוני חושף אבות אש, כל אדוני יפעיל מדבר, יפעיל אדוני מדבר קודש. כל אדוני יחולל איילות, ויחשוף יערות, ובהיכלו כולו מרכבות. אדוני למעבוד ישב, וישב אדוני מלך לעולם. אדוני עוזיהו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו השלום. 154, the bottom of the page. ובנוחו יאמר, כי לקח טוב נתתי לכם, תורתי אל תעזבו. אצטעיר בי, להחזיק עמה, לתוכחה, מאושר, דרכיה. דרכי נועם, וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אדוני, אליך ונשובה, חדש ימינו, חדש ימינו כקדם, כקדם, כקדם. All right, page 155 is the half Kaddish. It Gadal, it Gadal, Shemera, Amen. Shabbat Yivrach Cherute, V'yamlich Malchute, V'chayecho Yomechon, Uvayecho B'nei Yisrael, Ba'adas Ba'agala, U'vizman Kariv, V'meru Amen, Yesh Me'ra V'Elora, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, Yitbar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, Yitadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Shemei Kodesha B'richu, V'yelah, Min kol birchata v'shirata, Tush b'chata v'nechemata, Damiram v'yama, Imeru Amen. 156b. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Leah Elohei Rachel El HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'Kodei HaKol Zocher Chasdei Avot Levi Goel Ibnei B'neihem Nilan Shemo B'Yava Melech Ozer Fokeinu Moshiach U'Mogin Baruch atah Adonai Magin Abraham Ufoked Sarah Atah Gibor Le'elam Adonai Echayei Beitim HaTorah V'Hoshia Mori Ratal V'Chalkel Chayim B'Chesed V'Chayei Meitim
ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מחמוך על גבורות, ומדו מלך, מלך ממית ומתחייב, ומצליח ישועה, ונאמנתו לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני בחיי המתים. Page 157. נריצך ונקדישך, יסוד שיח, שרפי קודש, המקדישים שמך בקודש, הקודש. ככתוב על יד נביאך וכרזה אל זה ויאמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלך הארץ, כבודו מלא עולם, בשרתיו שואלים זה לזה, איה מקום כבודו ויומתם, ברוך יומי, ברוך אדוני במקומו, כמו יפן רחמים, ויחן עמם יחדים שמו, ערב הבוקר בחיים תמיד, פעמיים ביעבה שמה אומרים, שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, הוא עלינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו, שנית 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 לעיני כל חי, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו, שנית 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 לעיני כל חי. Liotachem leElohim, to break control, katuv lemor, Darvador, nagid God lecha, Darvador nagid God lecha, ulenetzach nitzachim, ulenetzach nitzachim, kedushatcha nakdish, sheveshevchacha Eloheinu, Pinu lo yamush li'olam va'ed. Dorvador, nagid God lecha. Dorvador, nagid God lecha. Ki el melech kadosh, 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 Shata. Baruch atah Adonai, Moel HaKadosh. Continue silently to 161, after which you may be seated.
Please continue. I'm on page 159, the top 3 lines. Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Amekadeshe Shiri Kulam Yispu V'Yitangu Kulam Yispu V'Yitangu Itu V'Echa Yismechu V'Malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat V'Korei Oneg Shabbat Yismechu V'Malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat V'Korei Oneg Shabbat B'Hashivi Ratzita Bo V'Kidashto Chemnad Yamim Ata Karata Teichem Aseh V'Reishit. And page 161. Sim Shalom Tova U'Bracha Chen V'Chesed V'Rachamim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael Amecha Orcheinu Avinu Kulanu Ki Echad B'Yar Panecha Kive'or Panecha Natata Lanu Adonai Eloheinu Torah Chaim V'Avat Chesed U'Tzedakah U'V'Racha V'Rachamim V'Chaim V'Shalom V'Toli Einecha Levorech et Amcha Yisroel Echoleit Uvechasha Ishlomecha Aruch Atah Adonai Borech et Amo Yisroel Shalom. Full Kaddish 181. Yidkara v'ikara Hashem me'rabah Yolba divra chirutei v'imlich machlutei V'chayei cholon v'meichon Uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisroel Agalah v'zman kariv imru Amen Yehei Shmeinu Rabba mevorach V'olam yomei Maya Yitzarach Yitzarach v'yishtabach V'poar v'tromam v'yitnaseh V'tadar v'taleh v'talal Shmeir HaKudesha V'yibuchu V'yilav v'nkaber chata v'shirata V'ata v'nechamata Tamiran v'yalma v'yimru Amen Kabal tzlaton avoton d'chol Yisroel Kedamavon v'shmaya v'yimru Amen Yehei shalom araba min shemaya V'chayim aled v'chol Yisroel v'yimru Amen Oseh shalom v'mromav U'yaseh shalom aleinu V'yal kol Yisrael V'yimru Amen Yaseh shalom Shalom aleinu V'yal kol Yisrael Yaseh shalom Shalom aleinu V'yal kol Yisrael V'yal kol Yoshetev Amen. All right, we're happy for Esther Cohen to lead us in the Ein Keloheinu, beginning on 182.
Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mi Keloheinu, Mi Kadonenu, Mi Kemalkeinu, Mi Kemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Ato Eloheinu, Ato Adonenu, Ato Malkeinu, Ato Moshienu, Ato Shetiru, Avoteinu, Lefanecha Torah
Sami. Please rise, the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tei gidula l'yotzer reshit, shelo asanu b'nei haratzot, v'lo samanu mishpat adama, shelo sam melkeinu kahen, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam, anachnu korim, u'mishachalim u'odim, Lifnei Melech Malchei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Noteh Shamayim v'Yosei Haaretz U'Moshe Mikaro b'Shamayim Mimal U'Shchinatu Zo V'Gavei Meromim U'Eloheinu Eino Efes Malkeinu Efes Zulato Kakatu b'Torato v'yadatayom v'hashivota el levavecha ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim imal v'yal haaretz v'itachlat
All right, if you're not doing Mourner's Kaddish, you may be seated. Otherwise, we're on page 184. And I'm also saying it for Rosla, the rest of these. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabban.
Amen.
Yalmad yivrach yirtei v'yalich malchutei v'chayechon v'yamechon v'chayei v'chol beit Yisrael v'hagala v'zman kariv yimru amen. Yei shmei Rabban borach le'olam le'omayam Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalel shemei v'kodesha v'rifu V'yelam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechmata Yamiram yama v'yimru amen. Yehei shalom rabba ben Shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom v'mamav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol Yosvei Tevel v'yimru amen. Before I ask you to rise for the Kiddush and the Motzi, we're accepting volunteers to do the Haftorah next week, English, Hebrew, Russian.
I'm on the
anything.
12th. She's the 12th.
You're
I'm on
the
12th.
following week. We appreciate it. Anyone else?
I would have to do it in
Is it Isaiah? I'm sorry?
I would have to do it in English though. I
That's
don't know what I'm
fine.
chanting.
Perfectly okay.
Okay.
That's good. And promise me you'll do it in New York accents while I'm in
I thought I successfully got rid of my New York accent.
That is true. I shouldn't be mean. You are 100% correct. Okay. Later on, we'll give you a cup of coffee. We have coffee. We have lots of coffee.
Coffee.
You know, I love about New Yorkers is when they're going to ask you a question, they don't just ask you the question. They say, let me ask you a question. See, that way the listener can get their brain ready for the question coming in. Oh, my. Okay, so the Kiddush, yes, after which we'll hear a few well-chosen words. Thank you, Esther. Really. Thank you,
Esther.
Okay. All right, here we go. Okay, please rise. I always feel funny drinking in front of people who are not.
It's just juice.
It's just juice, really. Savri. Ki sheshet mimasa Adonai et hashemayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash Savri Mornan Vrabanan Vrabatai, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei Bri Hagafen, Amen. L'chaim, l'shalom, l'simchas. The motzi, I'm not doing the motzi, you're doing the motzi.
Because he didn't do enough.
Tell Paul to do
the most.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. Very nice. Have you done this before?
No. As far as I go, I'm not in the union.
All right. Please be seated. A few wonderful words from our wonderful president.
Good Shabbos, everyone. In a room full of amazing men, I'm only going to talk, well, women we know for sure are amazing, so I don't have to say it. But I'm going to speak a little bit just about two. One of them, my very amazing husband, who I did a beautiful job with the Haftorah. Really, I'm so proud, as I am proud of each and every one of you, men and women. And the other amazing man is our rabbi, who I must say that when he reads this particular portion about the 10 Commandments and translates us, he's laning from the Torah, I think that is just extraordinary. And it reminds me of the first time that Rabbi asked me to come into his office to talk to him, because I had just come in. I was not a member. I was just coming in. I had been greeted on a Shabbat, Friday night. I was very nervous. I came in by myself, and a wonderful Ann Beth came down to sit next to me and patted my hand and said, "It's okay." But after a few weeks, and I attended Rabbi's classes, and I knew I wanted to join, and I told him, and he said, "Come and talk to me in the office." And I sat down, and he said, "And how do you feel about being a Jewish woman?" And I said, "I feel very lucky." I said, "I have 10 perfect rules to go by. What more could I wish for?" And our wonderful rabbi said, "Look, you're short 603, but you picked 10 good ones." And I thought, I know I'm home, because I have a rabbi who is okay with the Jewish woman that I am, with everything my parents had taught me, with everything I wanted to observe, with what I didn't know. And I still feel that way about being amongst all of you who I love very dearly, but especially our rabbi, especially. I want to let you know that plans for high holidays are going forward at top speed. We have 6 weeks to go until Selichot, and our Selichot this year is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And it's not going to be till midnight, so don't worry. It won't be. But it'll be an early evening service. Cantor Anita, it will be her first service. There's going to be a blessing of a dedication of the Embracing the Torah project by Rabbi. Our bima will be decked out in everything that all of you have donated for. It's going to be beautiful. And then we're going to have a musical evening after. We're going to have a little dinner too. And after the service, it will be a musical, probably about 45 minutes. So it won't be ending late at night, but this slichot is going to be very, very special. So that's September 9th, and there'll be more information on it as it gets a little bit closer, but it's getting pretty close. I also want to let you know that, to let me know where you'd like to sit for High Holidays. If you want your regular seats, you'll tell me your regular seats. If you want to look today in the sanctuary, I mostly know where everybody sits. but I want to make sure that you have the seats that you're happy with before it gets so booked up that I can't accommodate anyone. So you'll let me know today, please, or Monday and Thursday. Joni and I are in the office. We are also now taking down the information for the Book of Remembrance. A lot of people have called in already. You can call in, and if you haven't experienced it before, you can list your loved ones who are in heaven now, and their names will go into the Book of Remembrance. And the 4 times a year that we do Yisker, you'll have the books here or one to take home, and it's very meaningful. And for any of you who have an Adopted Kaddish child, you can also list your Adopted Kaddish child or children in the Book of Remembrance, so that those children lost in the Holocaust have someone to say Kaddish for them. Paul and I have 3 children, 2 little sisters and 1 young boy, and we've listed them in the Book of Remembrance last year, and we're doing the same this year. If you'd like to adopt an Adopted Kaddish child, we have a list of children who are available, and it's such a mitzvah. It's just unbelievable, and again is a project that shows the heart and soul of our beautiful, beautiful synagogue and of each and every one of you. It is my privilege to know you all, to be with you every week, and to think of you all of the time. Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Joe, pick someone.
Joe. Let's say Adon Olam.
Adon Olam.
Adon Olam, Asher Allah.
B'terem kol Yitzir Nivra, Li'ez Nasa V'Betzoko, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra, V'Yaharei Kiflot HaKol, Levado Yimlach Norah, V'hu Haya, V'hu Oreh, V'hu Yeh B'Tidbara, V'hu Echad V'Ein Sheni, L'Hashilo, L'Hachmira, V'li Reishim, V'li Tachlit, V'Lahalos, V'Hamizra, V'hu Eli, V'Chai V'Torah, V'Yitzara, V'hu Nisi, Umanosli, Minatosi, V'Yom Ekra, V'Yado, Akid Rufi, V'Yezisham, V'Yayira, V'Yimrufi, V'Yati, Adonai Li,
Thank you. Thank you. Please rise for the closing benediction. Yivarechacha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Yo'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. The Lord turn his face into you and grant you peace. Shana Tova, Happy New Year. We'll say Amen.
And Williams had mercy on us. He figured we went without lunch for so long that he made us lunch today.
Thanks to Dina for.
Maybe you should bring a cane with you so that
Okay,
you need some help. Just